stop sharing and I'm going to go to, it's recording. How do I make it? I don't want gallery view on speaker view. There. Go ahead and speak and see what it says. See if it goes to full screen.
Okay. Oh, probably.
We will need that.
I do? Okay.
Yep, sure.
All right, I'll just put this. Technical difficulty is the speaker, not the equipment. How do we do this? Oh, I have a new fishing knot. That's cool.
This goes like that.
Okay.
Around your ears, backward.
You know, I never use this when we're on the inside.
Yeah. And you can pull down your mask.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Your speaker is pointed down.
It is. Oh, how's that?
That's
And I'll
better.
take the mask off for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel COVID safe amongst my friends here. It's good to see everybody again.
We might be more dangerous than you think.
Oh, is that right? I've often thought that about you. Sure.
Is it turned on?
It says it's on.
Doesn't sound.
I'll try it because it was turned all the way down when you were playing with all that other stuff. You turned it
Oh,
down.
okay.
Just a second. What I want is speaker view. How do I get speaker view? There.
Hey, Chris, put your picture on so I can see you at home. She didn't want to come up this weekend. She was feeling a little poorly. Hi, sweetie. She was feeling a little poorly, and that's, of course, a pass. Does not come up and enjoy the allergies that I'm having up there in the mountains. I suppose the people on Skype can
What it's doing?
see, can hear me just fine because it's got to be going through the microphone of the computer too.
Can you hear Chris? Yeah.
Chris, can you? Okay.
I'm going to do that because I don't know how to make it just you.
Okay,
There's a way to
that's
do
fine. I don't want to see just me. I like seeing all these other people. So, whoop, here. I'm on a tether, which is really a good idea. It's the way it should be. Well, I kind of expected this to be a breezy morning. So I was, because wind figures into the story today, I was curious about how windy it could get. And I'm curious here. In fact, I'm looking forward to February doing this out here, and we'll see if we can all stay in one place as the wind pushes us up the street, right on the ice and the snow. The wind got up on the mountain, got up pretty high yesterday at some point, and then it cooled off towards the evening. It backed down quite a bit. Wasn't bad at all. But did you know that the world record for wind not coming from a hurricane or a typhoon is like 230 miles an hour? And it was measured in New Hampshire on top of Mount Washington back in the 1930s. And since then, America, I've never heard of this before, America's had Big Wind Day on that date. I think April 2nd, April 12th, something like that, is Big Wind Day in the United States. So it's a holiday. And here in Wyoming, it's just a normal day when the wind blows that hard, right? I had a guy at a Home Depot or a Lowe's down in Loveland. I was wearing a Wyoming hat and a shirt, and he says, "Well, you're walking pretty straight for a guy from Wyoming." And I said, "I don't understand." He says, I thought everybody in Wyoming had one leg shorter than the other, so you could always lean into the wind." And it does get pretty darn windy up here, doesn't it?
Yep.
And that figures into our story today too. You know, I often come here and try to tell you that in my research, I found that the story doesn't mean what we thought it meant, that there's some underlying thing. that the Greek word for something may not have been translated correctly. And the truth is, this story is very straightforward and very accurate. and it's right. But let's think about that story a little more deeply. Jesus, they've just fed thousands of people, and he sends the disciples on the boat, and he says, you guys go across the lake. And they get in the boat and they go, and the crowd disperses. And then Jesus goes up a mountain to pray. You notice Jesus always goes up a mountain or out in the desert to pray. He needs to be alone. We need to be alone, is my thinking, that this is what Jesus is teaching us. We can use that alone time ourselves to work on things that are very, very important to us, to work on ourselves. In fact, we'll get into this in a little bit. So next morning, Jesus gets up, I'm sure very early, and proceeds to go catch up with the disciples. They're not yet on the other side of the lake. And it's not that big a lake. They are caught up because the storm is coming right at them, and they can't maneuver to get over there. The wind is too harsh. The waves are billowing against these guys. And first time I thought of that, these guys are fishermen. You would think they know how to handle a boat, right? And yet, I saw a documentary just the other day about that massive Edmund Fitzgerald was sunk by powerful waves and high winds. So they were terrified. They were being tussled about. Don't know if they've ever been in a storm that big. I remember when I was a little kid, had an uncle who built his own boat, and we went off into the ocean off of Long Beach, California, and we're just fishing out there, and a big old storm came up. Uncle JB was very rightly concerned about the weather, and Uncle JB says, it's time to go in. On the way out, he had promised me that I could drive the boat a little bit on the way back. You think that was a good idea for the little kid to want to get, yeah, but I still wanted the steering wheel. And instead, he shoved me underneath and forward in that boat of his to get us back safely. I would have killed us all. Clearly, I wouldn't have known what I was doing with a boat. So Jesus sees the guys. They see him. Some of them think it's a ghost. And yet Jesus says, it's I. Now, here's where Peter comes in, and he kind of does a doubting Thomas kind of thing, right? He's trying to balance his belief, his faith, with his doubt. And those who know me know that I think doubt's a good thing. I think anybody who has a religion and never doubts it, that was me singing. Anybody who has religion and never doubts their faith, then it's no longer faith, it's certainty, and that isn't healthy. So Peter is now a good example of, here we are, we're working on our faith, and yet I'm challenging that guy out there on the water. If that's you, Lord, that's fine, thank you. If that's you, Lord, command me to come out there with you. He didn't say, ask me. He said, command me to come out there with you. And what's Jesus's response is very simple. He just says, come. That's simple. Now, how much courage do you think Peter had to have to step off of a rocking boat out onto the water? How much faith does that take to be able to do that? I'm going to let go of the one thing I know that's floating out here, and I'm going to start walking towards my Lord. I don't know that I could ever do that. I hope I could. But to let go of the boat and start walking. Now, there's nothing that tells us how far he walked. Might have been 50 yards, might have been 5 steps. Who knows? Well, if it's in the Bible, it's going to be, there's numerology, right? So it's going to be a 3 or a 7, probably. So let's say he took 7 steps towards Jesus. Oh, it could be 12. That's another big number there. So Peter gets buffeted by a great big wind. And that wind knocked whatever trance, whatever courage, whatever mobility he had worked on, he lost it because the wind knocked him. And every one of us here have experienced the kind of wind when you come around a corner and you get knocked. Buffeted is a very nice way, but it's like the hard knock of reality that we talk about sometimes. That hard knock hit Peter, and now his uncertainty came back, and he lost it and began to panic, and down he started to go. Now, he was pretty close to Jesus at the time because Jesus was able to just reach out and grab him and carry him to the boat. They get on the boat, and Jesus commands the winds and the seas to stop it. And these guys are flabbergasted. Well, now, this is a pretty incredible story. What do we do with that? How do we transpose this in any way into our lives? I'm very sure none of us are going to be asked ever to go walk on water. I know if I try it, it's not going to have a good result. But I'm going to say the same for all of you. In fact, how would people get baptized in some of those other churches that do the full dunk if their faith was so good, right? Now, that's a funny idea. I can't baptize you. Your faith is too strong. And down you go. That's a great reason for why we sprinkle. We'll make that our number one answer, right? No? Okay. Well, I don't know. It seems like a pretty good idea. So one of the things as I was reading the story that kept coming to me is that we so often, and when I say we, I mean the church as a whole, and that's all varieties of Christianity, spend way more time teaching people what to believe, what to say, what to do, but mostly what to believe instead of how to believe. Wouldn't Peter have been in a lot better shape if he didn't just ask what to do, but if he had asked Jesus, how do I have enough faith to stay out there on the water with you? Huh? That's a pretty tough notion. How do we do that? How do we behave as though we have faith? One of the things that I, as a chaplain and a pastor and a contemplative and a counselor, one of the things I work on is something that I know, at least Ken and I have background in this, and I know some of you others do too, is the concept of self-differentiation. Peter was being watched by the other disciples on the boat. Don't you think he was a little bit mortified when he got back to the boat? I failed. Now, did he fail? I don't think so. I think he was incredibly brave, at least for those 7 steps. That was amazing. But a lot of his reaction had to have been, these guys think less of me now. We do that. don't we? Whether we know it or not, we do it. I wonder what they think of me for buying 6 gallons of vanilla ice cream. Now, it's for a birthday party I'm taking it to, but what's that checker thinking of me as I go through there? But what are the things that we do that we sometimes stop and wonder, why am I doing this? What should I be doing? How should I be seeing myself in the world? And this is where differentiation comes in. Because the concept of differentiation is for us to be able to acknowledge the emotions that we're having, whether they're good or bad, whether it's shame or fear or love or joy, acknowledge those emotions, and yet still be self-aware enough that we can see what we're doing and why we're doing it. And that's huge. And that takes, honestly, a whole lot. Because we're taught, I bet you are too. You were too taught. Don't do that because, and then there's some emotional reason for it. And that kind of sticks to you. You know, don't throw the baseball against the wall because you're going to miss it, you're going to break the neighbor's window. Right? Well, that's a shame thing to get put on us, whether we did anything or not. It didn't happen yet. Now, I got to be honest, I had super sadness today because one of the things I was going to bring my parent tree, and Chris is already giving up sleeping about it. She's told me many times, don't sleep with that bird. Why taking naps with that bird? She just a first little comment. Last night she went to bed with her, and our little broke. And she died. I broke out. Inconsolable about it. It's myself. And part of the problem that I had to talk to Chris about this morning was she had told me a dozen times at least, don't take that bird to bed. They're just sturdy enough for that. So the shame is bearing down on me, and I'm trying to stay self-interested enough to not weep in front of you just unable to talk because it's my sadness. So in my head right now, I'm struggling with know what's going on with it. Allow the sadness to be here. I'm not throwing it away, but I also have to be here with you. I don't have to be. I'd like to be here with you. So that's like a confession this morning, brothers and sisters. Is one of my favorite things on this planet is no longer with me now. But I look to you. I could. You're going to say, well, I'm stupid, I'm bad, I should have done that, and I just I know your sympathies and your prayers. It's been a hard time for a while. But I'll get over it. So that grief that we feel sometimes, that shame that we feel sometimes, that sadness that we feel sometimes. Let that be what decides who we are and what we do. Not preaching people what they should be doing. Living in our and letting those people. three animals I'd like to share with you. We're playing small does not serve the world. You hear that? You're playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine. Just to show it. You were born to be manifest. It is within us. As our own light shine, we unconsciously and God will constantly give you the opportunity to become who you really